my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite podcast today. If you're watching, you can see we have a guest episode. Now, this woman right here, I met her just a few months ago. I know, folks, I'm late to the party. I know. Because I started bringing up her name and everyone was like, where you been? Where you fucking been? Under a rock, apparently. But either way, she's now, I'm on my radar. And since, what was it? Raise the Bar? Oh, no, Real Coaches Summit. She was speaking and I sat in on her lecture and I was like, yo, this bitch smart as hell. Like, wow. And I found someone that quite possibly speaks faster than both myself and Jill. And I was like, this. She's super busy, which is like also why I was like, hey, let me think, how can I talk to her? How can I just hear all the things from her, but not waste her time? And I was like, okay, podcast, we're going to ask and pray and hope that she comes on. She is a PhD in what? I'm not actually really sure. She's just really fucking smart. She can tell us if she wants. And she's an exercise physiologist and just, I've brought her on, folks, because you know my whole shtick, more you. I should have worn that shirt. I didn't, but my whole shtick is more you. And I brought her on because, in my humble opinion, she is someone who is too much. And I say that in the best way possible. And I think that that is her superpower. And I've brought her on because I listened to a podcast episode she did with Sean. We'll link that. And I was like, listening to her story, and basically her whole life she's been told you are too much, and then she leaned into that. And I want you folks to hear what happens when you do that. I want you to hear a firsthand account of someone who has been told that their whole life and what that's been like, what that now looks like, and then you can take it from there. So without further ado, welcome to the show, my new friend, Dr. Alyssa Olenick. Welcome, friend. How are you?
How Thank you. What's so funny is like I feel like I've been a big fan of the work that you've done for so long, and then when you were at the conference, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if I like can connect with her, because she like you were like light years away of like my coolness realm. And then I remember seeing you in the room and I'm speaking and I'm like, I kind of feel like
Yo,
this is a big deal. Yeah, I was like,
I'm
this
in
is
there.
a big deal. So it's
I'm
so
on the
funny
bike
because
now
like
because of this chick. I didn't honestly, Alyssa, I didn't really go to a
I
lot
knew.
of the sessions. Like, I'm not in the fitness world. I'm like kind of in it by proxy. I wasn't so interested in the things, and like I'll go,
Mhm.
but yours I was specifically interested in. And then the two that I was there hanging out with, they were like, oh no, we're going to this. And then I get in and I was like, motherfucker, now I gotta go and ride this bike. That you're talking about, I gotta ride this bike.
It's the Alyssa effect. It's a curse. I will influence people. The number of people I influence to do cardio or run, and then they like enjoy it. I'm like, it's because I gave it to you in a way that wasn't the most miserable thing in the world. It still is. You're choosing to do the air bike,
I
so
can't
you're
like
choosing
running.
violence,
I'm like,
but
running's cool. Running,
yeah.
like that's like I have a background with that. But I was like, in terms of what's going to carry over for me the most with volleyball, I was like, let me go do this, especially because so you folks listening, and we'll get into this though. We'll see how much, but
Yeah,
we
just dove right in.
Alyssa presents information with a scientific background. Like that is what she does. And so for me, y'all know, I'm like, give me the facts and then I'll decide from there. I don't need like necessarily people's opinion on it. And so she's laid this whole thing out. And I was just like, I've been playing beach volleyball for a bit. And one of the things that happens with beach volleyball is you kind of just like, it's kind of a stoner sport. That's the best way to explain it. Like you can kind of like stand around a little bit. You're like at max running around for like 30 seconds, maybe. Like it's not this like get your heart rate up. And I was like, I need to do that. Like I make a concerted effort. And then Alyssa gave a presentation and I was like, fuck, let me bust out that bike. So now we're on the bike.
Laid it all out on why you should do the thing.
Okay.
Oh, I'm proud of you for doing it.
Yeah.
And then I have people tagging me because they see you doing cardio, and it's this domino effect. They're like, "Oh, I found you through you doing the air bike, and now they're doing the air bike." And I'm like, I love this.
So do you
I
like
love
the kind of box that you're in? I don't even know the box you're in, but like people and the way you kind of just laid it out there of like the cardio queen, the cardio person, the hybrid person, what was the other word? What's the other word? Concurrent training. I don't know. Do you like being in that box?
Concurrent training. Kinda. Hey, there's dogs. So if you're listening to this podcast, everyone, I apologize. My parents have 2 dogs, and my dog that I just rehomed used to live with the one of them, and they all know each other and they're crazy.
Like,
hey,
let me get this massive dog.
So I love her so much. She's the love of my life. I'm so obsessed with her. So what's funny is, and this is like probably a lesson I've seen you and me like bounce like little things off in our stories too about this, is like, when I came into the fitness industry and I started preaching the cardio and hybrid training thing like in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
2018, far before it was cool,
Yep.
right? I was just ahead of the trend and now everyone's doing it. And that's fine. Like, I think it's a great thing. But what's funny is I was coming from the background of like a strength athlete. Like,
Jesus
I
Christ.
deadlifted 400 pounds strong, won a strongman competition on a women college strong. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, you know what I mean? Like super fucking
I
strong.
love this.
I'm a type 2 muscle fiber, beefcake, nothing but like, I'm literally not, I'm made for power. Like, I'm made for feed, not for
I love
speed
that.
is the way I describe it. Like, I am just like,
Oh.
I am not, but like, I ran my whole, that's, you know, it's not true. I ran cross country and lacrosse my whole life. And I'm definitely like very prone and gifted to being muscular and strong. And so I came into the industry thinking, okay, you know, I started training for trail and then my first ultra marathon. And I was like, will people take me seriously or listen to me if I'm running and I'm not like a strength coach who's only strength training, which is so funny because I ended up finding this niche so early on because I was just, all of a sudden I started coaching. I was like, wait, other people want this. I'm the only one doing this. This is crazy. And so, you know, it was I kind of just followed the lead on like what people were asking for and what they wanted from me and what I could do that no one else was doing at the time. And so I kind of niched myself into that. And I think it's funny though that so many people recognize me as like the cardio person. Because by trade, like, I guess, you know, I am a runner. Like, I am a runner. It's not to say that I'm not, but by trade, like, I am so much more a lifter and a strength athlete and a strength person. Like, which is so funny though, because I'm known as the cardio girl. And I'm like, I'm actually like not the best at cardio in the world, which, you know, your own personal fitness doesn't have to necessarily, but I just find it so funny. And now people associate me as being a runner. And I'm like, if you like racked up like my history of training and performance, like, I'm so much more a meathead than anything else. But so I don't necessarily mind it at all. I think it's actually a lot of fun because I think for me, you know, I've also kind of like, I feel like I use that niche to convince people to actually do things that are fun and exciting and add to their life. And like, my mission has always been able to like use fitness as a tool to help people like live bigger, bolder, more powerful lives, be more themselves, learn about themselves. It's like all these tools. And so for me, I feel like that hybrid, concurrent, dynamic, duo, functional fitness, whatever word you want to call it or word you hate for type training, is like the best vehicle for doing that. And so I don't necessarily mind it, but I do find it funny that people associate me so much with cardio. And I'm like, it's really just because I've been fighting an uphill battle in the industry that running and cardio is like not this terrible boogeyman that you need to be afraid of. So it's just like, now I've become known for that. And I think it's so funny because I was like, I'm just a hunk of
It's so
meat.
interesting
Like,
to me.
I'm
She
just a
is,
little
and like if you
muscle
meet her in
hamster.
person, then you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you are. Like, I get to see your size in person. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
social media is deceiving.
I'm both big. I'm both big and little at the same time. That's how my husband describes it. He goes, everything's big about you except for you. That's how my husband describes me, which is fitting for this podcast episode today. Yeah. So yeah, I like it because I think it allows me to like give people the tools and like, I hate like inspiring people because I really think that a lot people have it all within them, like empower, blah, blah, we can rant about that. But it gives people the tools they need to actually get what they're wanting a lot of the time out of things. So I do enjoy it because it's my way of giving back the gift that I've been given to others. And I don't think I could do that with like just strength or just running. I think like what I can give people with, you know, hybrid training and concurrent training allows me to give the whole package to people so they can like live a whole ass life with the whole ass well-rounded fitness that they have from it. So I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's great for me too because I don't have a niche. I have a niche that's not a niche, right? I have a million niches, but it allows me to kind of like, well, my niche is kind of everything. So then I can just talk about whatever I want. I have a lot of shit to say. So it allows me to kind of just always be going from summiting mountains, altitude training, cardio, running, lifting, fitness, metabolic health, longevity, like it all ties in and it's all related. So it kind of also helps me not box myself in too much, which I think you can kind of get into that rabbit hole in the industry a lot of times too. And then I feel too claustrophobic.
For those of you listening on the edges, that's actually a great way to, and we're going to dive into this. It's a great way because I know that people listening to this are multi-passionate. I will say though, you are really fucking good at what you do in both all of these things, right? And you are like tying into this whole thing, like doing the most.
Yeah.
You're not just like, I run and I also lift weights. You're like, I deadlifted 400 pounds. I love that you were like, do you know what I mean? And I was like, no, Alyssa, I don't know what you mean. Deadlifting 400 pounds. You know what I mean? No, actually I don't. But she's like, I'm deadlifting 400 pounds. I'm running 100 miles. Like I don't want to say extreme of it, but it's like, there is it is, right? So you have this,
I
The
don't know
most.
how to
She's too
not be
much
extreme.
in the best way possible. And I will say that if that then becomes the niche of the one, like you said, like the fun she's having with it, but she's doing the most with it. It's not like I kind of do this, I kind of, we're kind of like tepid with things. Is from a business perspective, also people are not inspired by that, right? Whether it's intentional or not, like they're not going to be inspired by that. So there's something to be said about that. Can we take it back a second? With your approach, you are
Mhm.
just, you have that super analytical brain. You can do both. Your brain can go back and forth. You are very skilled with that, but you bring the science to things. When you first started in the space, were you worried?
Mhm.
Was that intentional? And if so, were you worried like, are people going to latch onto this? Or are they going to just like want to see me lifting? Do they want to hear about the science behind it? Was that a thought?
So I first started my page in my master's, and it was mostly like just me documenting my powerlifting training and then like some very generic fitness tips. And so that I kind of grew my first like tiny following from just like kind of sharing my lifting and my training. And then I pivoted into sharing the science. And what's funny is my mindset was definitely that fixed mindset a lot of coaches have, where it's like nobody wants to hear this. They just want to listen to the Fitspo, the virality, the booty shots. Oh my gosh, like nobody cares about my good information. Then I was like, well, bitch, just make your information better. So I like, I like that's like my call out to myself. I was like, make it better. And like, I was like, how can you start, you know, like displaying things in a way that makes people want to learn and makes people interested and makes people care. And that's where, that sounds so aggressive. You guys don't have to be as harsh to yourselves as me, but I gave myself the tough love. I was like, you can hate on the people recording butt shots, or you can just make better content. Like and
I love
that's
that.
just like the tough
I
love I
love
gave
that.
myself. And there's a lot of trial and error. And I was like, well, how can I share? And the thing for me is I'm a nerd and I'm so excited and passionate and about knowledge and learning. And I kind of benefited from the fact that I was in my
Mhm.
PhD while I
Huh.
was growing my social media platform. So
Yeah.
everything was content to me all the time. I'm in the lab, I'm doing research, I'm studying for comps. I was just firing off content after content. And for me, I actually kind of use content creation as a way to double
Love
down
that.
with learning on my own. I actually attribute my knowledge base and breadth to the fact that I was cross posting so much to
Love
social
that.
media and doing industry work during my PhD because I read
Love
so
that.
much more. And I also like it gave me a way to like reinforce my learning and my knowledge or double down or kind of if you can't teach and explain something then you don't
Got
understand
it.
it. And so it gave me a way to kind of practice with doing that. And so for me it's like I kind of got over the idea that it's like, okay, people aren't going to value science and knowledge as much as like these viral hacks
I
and
don't.
tricks, but people want it. But how do you get people to pay attention to it? It's funny, I'm going to ACSM next week to talk about scientific communication and
Nice.
YouTube and Instagram to
Mm-hmm.
like
Oh,
researchers and scientists. And I think the biggest things that even researchers and scientists get stuck in their head, they're like, well, people should just value the science, or they want to get too nitty gritty. And it's this song and dance of like, how do I display this and present this in a way for people where they actually want to like, consume it, right? So you have to take pieces of that virality and the trends and the things that are going on the internet, but then use it in a way that is a little bit
yeah.
more sincere and has a little bit more integrity and figuring out your voice within that and give it people like the content they want to consume and the way they can want to consume it. And then I
Yeah.
sprinkle in the stuff that's like more science heavy. And I'm like, I want to post this because I enjoy doing this. And if the 10 people who are here that want this, they're going to like it too. And then everyone else is going to just want me to give them a second reel, and that's okay. But for me it was just like I was
That
excited
part.
to share and I like to share and teach. So it was just like this balance of the two. And I just didn't, I don't know. I just, it was trial and error for years of like, okay, well, I want to share this stuff and this is exciting. And when I was coming up in the industry, there wasn't, and that's when the industry was like still starting to really grow. But like, I was like, there's no female exercise physiologist professionals in this industry at all. And that's like, and I like want people to value science in research and have that information, but also everything we've talked about. This
My
is like weight
goodness.
loss and fat loss or body composition changing. And I was like, nobody's talking about how to perform or how to train or how to exercise. And that's the stuff that makes me excited
Yes.
about exercise physiology and all that stuff. And so I don't know. It was just like I think the reason it was really worked well for me is because I think I'm more of a teacher than I am a scientist. Honestly, at
Cool.
the end of the day, like I think I'm a better teacher than I am a researcher. And it gave me an opportunity to express that and express creativity in a way that you don't always get to in science and research. But it also allowed me to just share the things that I thought were interesting and cool and eventually figure out the ways that they stick with others, but also like other people
Yeah.
want that information too. They just
Yeah.
don't, they weren't being given it at the
Yeah.
time. So I think a lot of when I was coming up 2018, 2019 in the industry, for a lot of people, it was like the first time people saw the things that I was
Totally.
talking
I
about.
get you on
You know
that.
what I mean? So that allowed me to kind of gain tractions with that. Yeah. So that's like a
It is.
non-answer. There's a lot of things
So
that went
much
on during that
to
time for
unpack
me.
there. So much.
But but yeah, it was just, you know, tough love on how to make it better because I wanted to grow, mixed with throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticked and doing it again and refining and keep just, you know, I think my superpower more than being too much is that I can just keep going.
That's why.
I can just keep going and keep going and keep going. And I don't take no for an answer and I just figure it out. I think I just had I mean, I know you've talked about this, like that point where people quit and give up. I just didn't. I just kept going. So I watched even some of my peers, they were doing the same things I was doing or trying to do it. And then they dropped off and I kept and am keeping going. Right. So I think that, yeah. So there's my like long roundabout answer.
I'm over here frantically writing things down. For those of you listening, one of the things that I want to pull out from there is document, don't create, right? So I don't love making this podcast about like social media. And also I think we share this in terms of like when people bring you on, there's like, I want to talk about like some of the bigger things, not like, what's the algorithm doing? Like, I don't know if I can care. But for those of you listening around the edges, because this is part of her story here, right? Document, don't create. She created content, document, don't create, meaning she was able to make content because she was living it. Right? She's like, I'm in school right now and I'm going to document this. I'm going to share this and I'm going to go, because we are all concerned about that. Like, what might someone say? So then we go and do more research to be like, can I teach this? Do I really fucking understand this? And then share that. One of the kind of special sauces that she has is that she loves this shit and she brings the excitement to it. Right? I think that you could present the most quote unquote traditionally boring information, but if you're like, I am fucking jazzed about this, I love this stuff, I live this stuff, people are going to listen because they're like, people just want to be around other happy people. They want to be around other people that are doing things that bring them joy. And so they're like, I'll listen. What I take from it and what I do from it may be different depending on like what my own interests are. But when someone is fired up about the stuff they're talking about, you'll listen. So let's take a step back from that. You said you started this during your master's. What was your master's and why? What would you go into?
So my master's, so my master's was in exercise physiology, which is what my PhD is in. So you're correct. I'm an exercise physiologist. So research niches, we can unpack that at another time. That's not important right now. So there's twofold. One, everyone was like always in my life asking me fitness advice and stuff as one gets if they're in this industry. So I was like, okay, like I'll just like start posting some stuff. But two, I actually started my Instagram to practice writing every single day to become a better writer because I wasn't good at writing. I struggled a lot with writing. So it gave me the opportunity to write something every single day. So I would write a caption or a post. And because my one professor who I was talking to about, you know, it was some academically, it's so funny because actually Jason and Susie, when I went out and got dinner with them and hung out, they were like, Jason was like, there's no fucking way you're a bad writer and you struggle at writing. I'm like, actually really, really bad. Like that was the one thing that I worked on improving in my whole PhD. But social media for me became this way for me to practice writing all the time, which is so funny because when I think about the most hate and backlash and mean comments I've ever gotten in my life, it's on my writing, my grammar, my spelling. And I'm like, actually, I'm publicly putting out my biggest struggle to hundreds of thousands of people all the time. And you're an anon. So like, great. Good for you. Like, thank you for emailing me and telling me telling me that I should be able to spell. I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed dyslexia and I'm publicly putting out the thing I struggle with, but good for you for sending this email. Thank you so much. Yeah. But it really was. It was like one to start sharing and documenting, kind of as you said. I didn't have any intention to grow a business or start selling products. I was just sharing my life. My training, I was powerlifting at the time, but it was for me, I just could practice writing. It just was an opportunity to practice things that I sucked at in some form every single day.
Why did you go for your master's?
And that's why I started.
So it was exercise phys, but why?
Because I knew. Why? Because I wanted my PhD. So I knew because I wanted to be a doctor of exercise.
Why? What drives someone to
do
that?
I started. Okay. The long story short is funny. The road I ran today, I was like 13, 14 years old. I started running and I thought this is the most amazing, magical shit ever. I swear to God, if someone wanted to shoot me with a bullet right now, would stop in front of me, drop to the ground. I'm invincible. Like this is like me in my head at 14 thinking that like I'm a superhuman because I can run for an hour. I loved it. I just loved it. And I was like, oh my, in my naive state, I was like, I want everyone should know that this feeling and this thing and this existence. Granted, I didn't understand all the complexities of life and adulthood at this time. I'm 14 years old, running around the back roads, just completely ignorant. But I'm like, this is the best thing. This is the best drug in the world, right? Like, I need to share this with everyone. And so I was like, I want to like learn as much as I can and share this with everyone. And like, this is amazing. I was always the girl who was working out after school and exercising and training. And I was just too much all the time, too much, right? And so I originally was going to go to college for business, which is funny now looking back. And I switched my college 6 weeks before my freshman year started because the lacrosse coach at the school I was committed to got fired, and it put my scholarship at risk. And it was more expensive school. And my parents were like, I don't think you should do this, because if you can't get that guaranteed higher scholarship your last 2 years, you're going to really regret the student debt. Plot twist, paid off my student debt. I'm so glad I did that. I was so pissed at the time, 17 years old, telling them how I can do my life, this and that, 18. And now I'm like, thank God. So I switched to the cheapest state school that you could go on and walked on the lacrosse team. And it was, my mom was on the phone with like the guidance counselor. She's like, I was like, okay, well, let's go for health science, because there's not as many lab fees and it's cheaper. Because I did want to go for exercise science at the other school. My parents were like, you can't afford all the lab fees to do a science degree. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything at the time. I don't know shit. So I come into college freshman year and I'm like, I'm going to be an exercise physiologist. I, in my head at the time, think this is an elite Nike trainer, like the Nike training app that you used to have back in the day. Yeah. Like Maria Purvis on Nike training app was my godsend hero. I'm like, I want to be this woman. And so my advisor at the time, he goes, you know that like you could just do like the sport and recreation and exercise, like it's like basically a glorified PT degree. Like you don't have to be doing the science degree. I was like, wouldn't it make more sense for me to do the harder degree?
Of course.
If I to do become this thing. It's like, wouldn't it make sense for me to do, which is so funny because I'm in college and I think I'm stupid. I don't think I'm smart. I'm scared I'm going to fail every single class. I got 9 tutors for the first semester of college. I went to all 3 bio tutors every single week, plus a tutor for every single class I took. I would study all the time. I was like socially rejected from my lacrosse team because everyone thought I was annoying. I was like the worst one on the team. I walked on and I was like, well, if I'm not going to be an athlete, that's my entire identity. I'm going to be smart. So I just studied all of the fucking time. That's all I did was study. Found out good at science, had no idea. But in my head, I was like, okay, like why would I not take the science degree? And then I realized along the way in that first semester, I was like, oh, I'm actually good at school. Never identified it, which I was like an honors and AP
I heard this on John's podcast and I like couldn't understand this. Why did you?
Nobody, like, I feel like all my friends in high school, which is the weirdest thing, is like we were all like my high school was very big. So we were like popular and smart, but a popular smart group was the top cohort was like a ton of people. Like it wasn't like this small like niche of people. It was like this huge variety of kids. And for some reason, my year, everyone who was like kind of a good athlete and a smart kid and a good kid and a popular kid was like smart. Like everyone was honors in AP. Like I had a few friends that were in just the regular classes, but like everyone around me was smart. All of my friends were smart. And so everyone around me was like, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a physical therapist. I'm going to be all these things. And I was like taking architecture classes because I wanted to design houses. I don't know. And I just never identified as smart. So I dropped out of all my AP classes senior year because I thought I was going to fail. I dropped out of them all in the first day of school. I was like, there's no way I can take calculus, physics, and history. I dropped out of them. I feel like I just never had anyone pick up that I was smart growing up. Like I was a good student. I didn't do poorly. Like I was fine. And I always did fine in school. So my parents were like,
oh, yeah,
they just were never concerned. You know what I mean? Like there was like no one, but I just don't think
you're smart.
Yeah. That was just the smart kid who got their work done. Like I was, but I just never identified it because I felt like everyone around me was like, so like gifted. Like I feel like so many of my friends were in the gifted classes, and because I wasn't gifted, I was just average. And I just like didn't care about school. And I did enough work to like get A's and B's, and like I think I graduated like a 3.8 or 3.6 or something like that. Like I wasn't like, I just didn't try. I cared about sports. I cared about sports and working out. I would stay after school for an hour every single day and work out. What if I didn't have a sports team? I went to every optional practice for everything I did all the time. That's like my whole identity was lacrosse and running and sports. And so, you know, I went to college and I just thought, oh, okay, I'm not smart. And so then I found out by accident, oh, I'm kind of good at the science thing and I'm not as good at the lacrosse thing anymore. Granted, I walked on like the top 2 team in the Division II NCAA at the time. So it was like, yeah. So anyway, I get to college and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the harder thing, because that's just my nature. I'm like, I'm going to do the hardest thing, right? And then all of a sudden the floodgates open. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many other jobs and career opportunities that I can do, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, should I become a nurse? Should I become a pharmacist? Should I become
Anything,
a PA?
yeah.
Should I become a PT? But luckily my advisor was an exercise physiologist, right? I was like, oh my God, I should be doing all these things. And he was, I'm so grateful. He like such a godsend in my life. And I took Ex-Phys my first semester of sophomore year. Usually people wait until like junior, senior year to take it. And I took it that first semester. And I was like, that's it. I'm an exercise scientist. That's what I'm going to do. And so I decided to quit my lacrosse team after sophomore year of college. I had the highest GPA, lowest playing time. The assistant coach was like verbally abusive to me. I said, I'm not taking this. I'm not doing this. Not worth it. Right? Like not worth it. And so that was really hard for me to do. And I remember going to Dr. Dix's office and talking to him. I was like, okay, I came in with 15 credits from high school. Because remember,
smart.
terrible student in high school. So stupid. Comes in with 15, a whole semester worth of credits already, right? Whatever. And so I can graduate a semester early, but I technically was ahead in credits too because of who I am. So I could have taken summer classes and graduated a year early. And he said, okay, Alyssa, what if instead of graduating a year early, you come back in the fall and you join me in the Ex-Phys lab and we do a research project and you can start learning the lab and things like that. And so instead of graduating a semester early or a year early, I graduated a year early and I started to get into research my junior year. And at that point in time, a second exercise physiology professor was hired and he kind of like ended up taking me up under his wing, and which was great. And so I just started going into the lab, doing some exercise testing, learning all these things. And that's where actually I'm friends with her now. She's a couple years ahead of me. She had just gotten into a master's program in exercise science in a college like an hour away. And I found out you can get your master's and your PhD paid for. So you can get paid to become a doctor of exercise. And then PT school, as you know, and PA school and all these other schools cost money, right? And I was so excited about research. I thought it was so cool. I'm geeking out. Like, I love it. So I'm like, I just found out this was, I didn't know it was an option. I just found it was an option. I said, oh, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. So from that point on, junior year on till when I graduated, my entire existence revolved around how much can I beef up my resume so I can get my master's paid for, thinking that it's like this high stakes, low chance opportunity. I got like an assistantship at everywhere I applied to. This is a recurring story in my life until like the last few years. This self-doubt, this like lack of confidence, this lack of assurance. And so I start doing research. I start teaching group fitness. I start working at the gym. I'm also tutoring. I'm also doing tours on campus. I'm working like 5 jobs now. I'm working as a rehab assistant at the chiropractor downtown. So I quit lacrosse and then I got like a bajillion jobs. And because I was trying to, 1, make money at that point in time, and then 2, like I was like, I have to do everything in my power to get an assistantship because my parents were like, we're not paying for grad school. So I was like, I have to do everything in my power to get an assistantship. So that's what I did. And then I graduated early, got an internship at the Pittsburgh Neuromuscular Research Lab. So I lived at home and would commute to Pitt 3 days a week and then worked at like a Francesca's clothing place in between. Again, broke, lacking self-confidence, pulling myself like up to every opportunity and challenge I can make. And then I get my assistantship for my master's and I go. So then I knew I wanted to get a PhD. So that was always the plan. I went into my master's knowing I wanted to get a PhD. So then I'm in the master's. My goal is academia, science, research, get a PhD. And so I just start the Instagram like after my first year. I think it was I don't remember if I started it my first year or my second year. It probably doesn't matter. But I just started posting random, horrendous, terrible stuff, mostly me lifting and working out, inspirational quotes and like dumb things in my beefcake powerlifting type era back in the day. And then it was mostly just documenting. It was kind of more of a personal fitness account with like some random fitness tricks and tips, like kind of mixed in. Very 2016 Instagram, like nothing like it is now. And then, I finished my master's. I started my PhD. I actually started my PhD at the Vanderbilt. I was going to go for molecular physiology, quit Vanderbilt halfway through the first semester because the head of the program was an absolute a-hole to me. And I was like, if I'm getting a PhD, I'm getting it on my terms. And none of the research labs really had what I wanted to do anyway. So I was like, I'm going to go be an exercise scientist. So I left Vanderbilt, restarted my PhD. But the week that I left Vanderbilt, I literally quit Vanderbilt, moved to Louisville with my now husband, and then went home, did a photo shoot with my brother and now sister-in-law and said, I'm starting my business. And that was like it. So it was just like this. Yeah. It was just like this. Like, I was like, well, I have this platform. I have this page. I'm starting my PhD. I'm training for my first ultra marathon and I am starting my business. And I just like, was like fired up. And I was just like, I'm going to do this. And everyone around me at the time was like, whatever. So I kind of had my platform. I had sold like one little ebook thing that previous January, literally, I sold a fitness plan to pay rent because I wasn't paid over winter break in my master's. So I just was like, oh, well, would anyone want to do this? I made like
Okay.
$500 and paid my rent. I was
This,
like, this is amazing.
this.
I can pay rent. So it was
Alyssa,
just like, yeah, it was just, I was just putting my shit out
question. I
there.
have a few questions.
And then that's where it all started
Few
to take off.
questions here. I
I'm
got
sorry,
it.
that was a
I
lot.
got it. This is the kind of conversations I love. When people speak slowly, I'm like, I literally can't deal with this. So this is great. I got all of it. I wrote the things down that I
This
want to
is
tease
me.
out from there. And there's a recurring theme that I'm like, ooh, we have to circle back to that. But first question, with the PhD, it sounds like that was was there an end goal besides that? Like, I'm going to get my PhD and then do this thing with it? Or you were like, I want to get my PhD, period.
So I wanted my PhD, period. Two, but my plan all along, like once I saw that opportunity, is like become a
Okay.
professor, become a researcher,
Okay.
like work at a university. Very much so, like I was always on that track of like that was kind of always
Okay.
my career end goal until I kind of created this
Another
entire
thing to
web
do.
of
Okay.
opportunities for myself by accident.
Got it. I'm
So
like,
that was
what was
like
there something
always the
else? And
goal.
so
Yeah.
the next thing I'm gonna that you said, and I don't know if you realize you said it. One of the things we talked about a little bit earlier is that there is a point where people just they give up. They're just like, it's too fucking hard. You, on the other hand, you are able to just keep going, but you have no problem stopping and going in a different direction. You said it a few times. You're like, I left school the very first day. I left these AP classes. I was like, I can't. I'm not gonna be able to do well with it. So you keep going, but you're also not afraid to stop and keep going in a different direction. Can we talk about that? Do you realize you do
Hmm.
that? Is there thoughts around that?
I think, it's funny because I never thought about that in the high school regards of things. But I guess that is true for some because I quit cheerleading in ninth grade because I was like getting in trouble for
Okay, you
stupid
stop
rules. And
because
I
I
was like,
love it.
this is dumb. I finished out the
Yeah.
year and then I said, I'm stopping. And I was like, I'm going to play lacrosse. That's going to be my main thing. That's fine. And so, yeah, I guess I didn't think about me doing that when I was younger and growing up. But, I think it helped with like, quitting my college lacrosse team was really like when I think back to like my 20s, I think I was like 20 when I did it. That was the
Mhm.
hardest thing I ever done in my life. That was my entire identity and everything who I was. But I think it was the best thing that ever happened for me because if I didn't do that, I don't think I'd be who I am right now. But I think it showed me that you can stop and pivot and things
Okay.
end up being okay. I also think like then another pivotal thing was also the leaving my first PhD
This.
program because that was like me taking ownership of my life and my outcome and what happened. And I think the one thing that's unique to me more so than the stopping is that I'm confident enough to reroute. Like I have a plan, a pivot, an exit. That doesn't mean like I don't want anyone here to think that I'm like, yep, I'm doing that. No, this is
Mhm.
like me having
Yeah.
a million phone calls with my parents and crying and freaking out. Like I have a pivotal moment with my relationship with my now husband that I will always value is I was like laying on my floor crying, having a pity party for myself because I didn't want to study for this biochemistry exam because I knew I wanted to quit Vandy and I knew I wasn't happy and it wasn't what I wanted to do. And he literally said, I'm leaving because this is not the woman that I know that you are. And you can call me when you are like the person that I know that you are. And he left because he was living in Louisville and he had to leave anyway. Like he wasn't
Like,
staying
I'm
the
down.
night.
Wow.
But he was like, pick yourself off the floor because this is
This.
not who you are.
No.
He's like, this is absolutely not who you are. So I do always love
This.
and appreciate that he did
No,
that.
not at
Like that
all.
seems
That
harsh, but in the
is
moment it was exactly what I needed because he's like, who is this? Like I don't know this
this.
version of any human, let alone you. He's like, what is going on? So it's not like I was like,
No.
yeah, I'm girl power, let's do it. I'm like the most anxious, nervous Nancy crying all the time in a coffee shop to my
This
parents on the
is
phone about my life choices person. Like,
fascinating. This is
yeah.
fascinating. I hope everyone that's listening, I
Yeah.
hope you like maybe rewind and go listen, not to the her crying on the floor, but you're holding multiple things at the same time where you didn't necessarily receive the support, external validation of like you're smart when clearly you are smart. But I can understand if everybody's smart, then no one is, right? You feel like I get that. So you have that in the
Yeah.
one hand. You also have this ability to stop things that don't serve you. It's not willy-nilly. Like there's a whole process that I'm glad you gave us like we're privy
No.
to of like there's a lot of emotion and thought and planning that goes into it, but you're able to hold both of those things where there's like a I don't want to use the word insecurity, but we'll just go use it because I gotta give another one. Where there's this on this one hand, but there's also you
Yeah.
being willing to be like, and the word happy has come up a few times when you said this, that you're like, it's not serving me. I'm not happy. I am stopping this thing, whether it's leaving one of your teams when you're in high school, leaving a team when you're in college, switching programs. Like how are you holding both? Like, where did this come from? I want to hear more about this and your willingness to be like, does this serve me? Is it what I want? Did you question that ever? What is that?
So I think that I talked a little bit of this on Sean's podcast. I think for me, one, I'm really, really stubborn, and I'm sure people can detect that about me. And I am also very like,
I love
you do
it.
not tell me what to do. You don't tell me who I am. You don't get to tell me my limits. You don't get to tell me what I can and cannot do. I will decide that for myself. Cause like there's also this backstory of like me going to doctors growing up and then telling me my body's gonna fall apart and I can't do sports and I need a back brace and to quit lacrosse because I have hypermobility and my spine didn't support itself and my shoulders popping out of place. And I'm like, screw you. And I got strong and I started lifting. So there's definitely this like part of me who's like, you do not get to tell me who I am. I get to tell myself who I am. And I think a lot of that came from, and again, talked about that in Sean's podcast, is people were just so horrifically terrible to me growing up my whole life and just really like, especially like during vulnerable periods of my life. I mean, this followed me into my 20s, but
No.
eventually you become like old enough to kind of start working through it. But like, I just had so many adults and peers just be so like negative towards me about me or try to set my limits or try to tell me who I was or that I was too much, like it was a bad thing. And I think that there was just this part of me, maybe it's innate, maybe it's nurture, maybe whatever it is, where I decided that instead of letting those people just define this of me and shrink to myself and not be myself, I just decided that I was my number one fan. I'm on my side. If I'm not on my side, nobody else is. I believed in my dreams with full technicolor my entire life. It's crazy to think like the things that I envisioned myself doing at 14, 15, 16 years old on the runs like I just did today at my parents' house are like the things that I'm doing in my life now. I really believed that it was maybe delusion, but I really believed that I was capable of doing really, really
Yes.
big, incredible things and that I
Yes.
was special and that I could do whatever I wanted
Love
because I
this.
was me. And I think I just had that like just enough cheesy motivation and self-belief and just enough people in my life resisting me and me keep going that eventually I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, like, I don't need to be around people or in situations that aren't making me happy, aren't serving me, or like truncating my growth, which is funny because when you think about like even leaving Vanderbilt, like the best molecular physiology in like the country, people are like, that's crazy. Cause so I remember I told someone recently, they're like, oh, you're smart, smart. I was like, I'm still smart, even though I didn't go to Vandy, right? Um,
Yes.
but like, technically you might think that that's a down move or a lateral move or whatever it was. And I was like, this is the best choice for me. And I was always kind of willing to take that choice for my happiness. And I even did that. Like I left my postdoc last year and luckily my advisors were really great and supportive of letting me stay and work remote. But I was like, I love Colorado. I love the work that I'm doing, but I
Mm-hmm.
was doing distance with like, I
All
got
the
married
things.
last year. I was doing distance. I was also like just so stressed and alone and like not happy, right? And it was really it was a very hard choice for me to make, but it's so funny because now I miss some of the stuff that I'm doing. It was a hard choice to make, but I was like, I'm happier now even living somewhere that isn't my ideal because I
Mm-hmm.
made the best choice for myself. So I think that I just learned at a young age how to make
It's
the best
big.
choices for myself and what was for me. And I think part of that is stubbornness. I also think part of it is nurture. Like me and my mom talk about this a lot. Like we're going to go all the way
Mm-hmm.
back. When I was born, I was like really sick and I was a NICU baby and the doctors were like, she's going to like have like learning disabilities and physical disabilities and mental disabilities and all these disabilities. She might be blind or like have loss of hearing. She might have like, they thought I might be in a wheelchair. I'll never be able to walk. I was told I'd
What?
never run normal, never walk normal. I went to like foot specialists my whole life growing up. Yeah, this whole thing. I was like a miracle baby. Like they did like a case
What?
study. I wish I had the paper of me when I was born. So I think I just like came out kicking and
What?
screaming. Yeah, I literally came into this
What?
world being too much. I'm telling you, I came in this world being too much. Like I literally was like,
Alyssa, what?
I'm in this world first 24 hours and my parents are being told she might not make it through the night. She might die. If she makes it, it will be a miracle. Doing all these hearing tests. I'm literally days old and
Look
I'm
at
ripping the
this.
wires out of my head because I don't want them in my head
This
for
is
that. Like
you.
I came
This
out
is you.
stubborn as all hell. This is me. Like, so I think to some
Uh-huh.
degree, like that's
Wow.
me. But then even like growing up, like I
Yeah. It's
just
your
that's just
story.
like I was like the 4-year-old who yeah, and I was like 4 years old and I used to tell people life's amazing. I love life. This is incredible. And I had that before it got like squelched, but that was also kind of me. But like I had this preschool teacher when I was 5 who like looked at my mother and she was like, she's a leader and I cannot wait to see what she's going to do when she grows up because something special about this girl. So I think like my mom
I
took
love that.
that to heart And, right, wrong, or indifferent of anything else growing up, like my parents did a great job of like they never try to make me shrink. So like when I had issues with I had a couple issues like late elementary school with like
I'm
adults
sure.
and teachers like holding
Yeah.
me in during recess or after Girl Scouts and like lecturing me about literally nothing. I just whatever. My mom would like call these teachers and parents and be like, "Who do you think you are to talk to my daughter like this? Like, what are you going to do? She has straight A's. She's a cheerleader. She worked to get her back handspring." So I think like luckily my parents were like they just kind of let me bloom, even if it was aggressive and it was too much and it was too crazy. They were like, "It's so funny. This doesn't actually come out the way they mean it." But they used to tell me, "Go make money with that mouth." Definitely doesn't come off the right way. But I was always go make money with that mouth. But yeah, that was how, at least at home, my parents were like, you know what? Screw everyone. You are going to be wildly successful one day because you are this way. And so they just kind of like let me exist in my little tornado of myself. And I think that helped a lot. And my mom, I was never pretty. I was always smart. I was never, a princess. I was camping in the backyard and athletic, and I got to pursue what I wanted. And I did it with wearing pink in a makeup bag, but they just let me be me. And I think that my mom just truly believes since I was young, I just really think she took that to heart, because all my teachers growing up were like, she's a leader. She leads the classes. She's this and that. And so my mom was like, I'm going to foster the shit out of this. So I think I also like had a lot of self-efficacy being when I was younger too.
This is,
I don't know. It's like, I think it's a bit of nature versus nurture versus just, I like to think like I created my success and myself and who I am, but I also think I just came out
both.
wired.
I mean,
a
people
little
listen to this podcast, they know, because it's a similar story that when people ask like, how are you confident and things like that, and I'm like, it's nature and nurture. I do believe like you come out a certain way, and then if you have those parents or that parent that then fosters that or doesn't stifle it, then you end up with an Alyssa. Like, it makes total sense. Can we back it up for a second? Also, like, had not heard about the day one Alyssa, like literal day one that you were like in the NICU having like
emergency C-section, late term baby, beta strep meningitis. Like
what?
From the get-go, I came into this world like in the most dramatic way possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of three.
There. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the oldest daughter. Yeah, yes. Every oldest daughter, check.
So a few minutes ago, you had said about, because it's going to ties into what we were talking about. A few minutes ago, you said, you're running, you're 14, you're 15, you're believing in yourself, you have these dreams, these goals, and like you're living them, you're reaching them now. What are they? What were they? What are they? Let's bring it into kind of present day.
Yeah. So one, there was the whole like, I am going to share this love of exercise with everyone that I can possibly spread it to. Like, I was like, I need to share this with literally everyone. This should not be a secret. Everyone needs to know about this. This is amazing. Like, I don't know. I just felt so alive and so human and so happy. And so like that magic that you do feel when you're fit in your training and after exercise. And I know that some of us are probably biologically wired to enjoy it more, and I'm probably one of those people, but like I felt like it was a gift that I needed to give with everyone. Like, I needed to just tell everyone I knew about this thing that I found, and I did it. And then there was also like, so a lot of the things that I think fostered me and helped me create myself is like, as much as I'm an extrovert, I'm also like very introverted and introspective and in my head and very reflective. And so when I was younger, like, I think people forget, like, yeah, I did sports and I was friends and I was always out doing things, but I just used to run alone all of the time. So I'm like a teenage girl who's just running in her head for hours, listening to music, like, and just letting my mind wander and go after these things. And so I spent a lot of time, I feel like at a very young age, really getting to know myself by just running around by myself all of the time. And so, I got to really, learn a lot about myself. And I used to just like have these dreams and visions, or like I would think about them in my head about like, I like would picture myself almost being like a motivational speaker. Like, I'm going to stand on stages and encourage people to like live their lives and be fit and be active and like go after things and not settle and like be their best selves. And I just like truly believed, I was like envisioning myself on stages speaking to people. And I was like, I want to be a speaker someday. I'm going to speak to people. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to motivate people. I'm going to encourage them. Like, very kind of cheesy at the time in the way a 15-year-old brain works. You know what I mean? But I even remember beyond, like, I used to have like visions of that. And like, I would practice like speeches and things that I would like write in an Instagram caption now or get on my stories and say, like, I would picture that stuff in my head at 15. And so I also remember I would go through these waves, then it would get kind of squashed where I would be like get like, be like, I'm going to be like, I just big and bold and change my life and make decisions. And I just like, I don't know. I just felt like I was like, I'm going to be big. I'm going to be successful. I'm made for bigger things. I'm made to be great. I'm made to, and so I think I like self-fulfilled my own prophecy because I was like, I'm bigger than my hometown. I'm bigger than these people. I'm bigger than all of this stuff.
Did it.
And I just like,
You just did it.
I didn't know how to get out or if I was going to get out or do any of those things. But I just remember, I just knew like, it just like, I had this feeling and this knowing. And like, I had great friends and a great community and a great high school experience. Like, it wasn't like that, any of that was negative. I just felt like I remember like I used to watch things like, I romanticized like the Into the Wild, that movie and book growing up. Cause I was like, oh my God, this guy just like got away and went outdoors and like said, screw it all. And like lived on his terms. And like now looking back, and it's funny because that was like the book of the year when I went to college too. So we had to read it and write book reports by it. It was very self-fulfilling. But I just remember like being so enthralled with people who just like said, screw this. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to go after what I want. And I like romanticize that and idolize that. I used to have a playlist of Nike and other fitness inspirational videos on YouTube saved in a playlist that I used to watch before I would go for runs. It was just like, I was too much, right? But that's when I was safe to be too much with myself, right? Like I didn't always share that stuff with others, but in my own bubble, in my own self, I could be too much and do those things and just really believe that I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I had the audacity to think that I was going to be great one day, but I just decided that one day I was going to be great.
I love this so
so I did it.
Much. Like, obviously, when I do a podcast, folks, I kind of go in with like a story, kind of like a direction I want to take things. And this was not like I couldn't put this on the tip of my tongue. This wasn't like top of mind. But your story is such a refreshing take on this concept that I think has really gotten just squashed or like pushed to the it's tough to be alive right now. It's really expensive. And like that's like what like we just hear and like struggle and like everything is like fucking menopause in my world now. But it's like everything is like hard, right? Everything is just like the hardest and the worst.
Yeah.
It is so refreshing to hear a story of I believed and then I did it. Like that's at the heart of this. And I know we have a lot of people that listen to this that have kids. This is to me, I'm just like, I don't have any kids. I got a fucking cat. And I'm like, whatever you want to do, Rupert, you can do it. Sleep all day. Great. Be the best.
Yeah.
But there's something just so magical and refreshing in this story of just like, I would love could you imagine, you listening to this, you watching this, could you imagine if the default was just to believe and do, right? Because it's interesting. The last sentence you said, you're like, I don't know who I was or thought I was to have the audacity to believe this stuff. And I'm just like, let's have that as the default because it's not like it's not a bad thought. It's not like an outrageous thing of just like, I believe in myself. I believe I can do things, whatever those things look like. And I'm going to go and do everything I can to do it. Imagine if that was just the default and it's not anymore. It's not. And that's like, that sentence is so telling of like, who was I to have the audacity to believe in myself? And that's where we're at, right? That's where we're at in society and like in times. And I did not at all see the episode going this way. And I'm like, this is the words. This is at the heart of you. Like this, can you imagine going back to that where it's just like, or not even going back. Cause I don't know if that was ever a default, but moving towards that, where that's just the default, where people believe in themselves and then they go and do things and like they do what they can to achieve that and things can change and such as they go. But that is, I'm just sitting here like, wow. Yes.
You know, it's funny that you say that because for a lot of years, especially in social media, obviously that's where I'm portraying myself. I like was hiding a lot of that side of myself because it felt very well. I don't have kids. Life's not hard. Now I have money. I didn't have money before, but it doesn't matter that I didn't have money before because now I do. So now it's like not as valid. Oh, I'm successful now. So now it's not like inspirational because you're there, you arrived. And so I stopped sharing these like sides of myself because it's just like, oh, well, like, yeah, of course it's easy for you. Of course it's good for you. Of course this and that. Your story's not inspiring anymore. Blah, 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 blah. And I squashed it. But like a big driver for this for me the longest time is that I hate seeing that, especially in women, this self-loathing, deprecating, woe is me, I can't, everything's an obstacle, everything's in the way, it's everyone else's problem, fixed mindset, I'm the terrible, I hate myself, it's the worst. And I'm like, and I'm sure like if you follow me or you've seen this, like I've showed before, I'm like, I need you to see what it looks like when you like yourself, when you believe in yourself, when like this is what happens when, and I remember even meeting people growing up or having friends and I'd be like, just show up to the party by yourself. You're fine. You don't need people to hide behind. Like you're great as you are. Like just walk in the door. And I know that's like my default wiring, but that was like my earliest sign of that growing up was like, you can't just walk into a party by yourself. Why? Like just go. Like, you know, the people there. Like,
You're not wrong.
But that was just like my wiring of like, whatever. And so, yeah, but so much of this is for me is like, and it's like, yeah, it's fun to share my story, but it's like at the end of the day, like, I don't want to share my story because I just want to be like, well, look how insane I am. It's like, okay, but like,
God,
what if you recognize that
for
this is
you.
available to you
Yeah.
too, right? Like, it's like, yeah, now it's easy for me to think and feel this way, but like, I like it's not like I mean, I have a lot of things going for me and I'm very appreciative for that, but like I really just
Yeah.
kind of like did my own thing to figure it out.
This,
It's not like people just handed these things to me.
this.
And so it's like so much of it came down to just belief, not any of these other things that
Yeah,
people, and
yeah,
I know
yeah,
people
yeah,
have kids and
yeah,
life's hard and life's expensive, but
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
but like
This.
blah, blah,
Uh-huh.
blah, 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 disclaimer, disclaimer. But like, I just wish more people realize like, it isn't, and that's what I mean. Like, it's not unique to me. Maybe it is by my default wiring, but like, believing in yourself is free
This.
99. Get more of that.
This.
You can do it, and that's why I also like am so passionate about fitness because I think
It
that like
is.
it's such a
It
vehicle and
is.
tool
It's
for
so
people to
tangible.
see for the first time in their life.
Yes.
Because I don't know if I wasn't running, if I would have realized these own things about myself, that invincibility that I felt out there running, if I would have recognized that that existed inside of me. Like, I think that was a huge catalyst for me. So
This.
I saw
This.
what was inside of me when I was out there running, and I saw what I was capable of and doing and pushing my boundaries, and I was scared and nervous and all that stuff. And so that's why I also push so hard for that, because I think that that's like the first time people like, okay, well, if I can do
This.
this, well, what else can
That is a
what else can
line
I
I have
do?
said a zillion times in this podcast. My background as a physical therapist is that when people come in, and I always like leaning towards the performance side of things, because it's just like people come in for the fucking back pain, whatever, and then suddenly they're just like, "What else can I do?" And they're like leaving their shitty marriage, and you're like, "Well, I'm not responsible for that, but I'm glad that you've realized that.
Mhm.
Like, what else can you do? There's all these things, and simply because you this physical capacity
Yeah.
that you have gained, like." I'm cognizant of time. I have like two more questions, and then I'm gonna let you go. Okay.
You're fine. I
Okay.
have I
Okay.
have time, so as
Okay.
long as it's
We're good.
whatever fits your episode
We're good.
time. Whatever
We're
fits
good.
your episode time, you're
So,
good. So,
okay, I'm gonna ask, because when I was writing this down, I kind of brainstorming this. I was like, I don't really want to go into the science of it, but I do have one question, because you did a post, and I was like,
yeah, it's
I would
okay.
love for you to nerd out on this. So one of the things you talked about is, and something that was big for a while, is like lifting weights fast is cardio. And then you did a post not too long ago, and you talked about decoupling. And I was like, can you talk more about that and VO2 max heart rate decoupling, why we see lifting weights fast, and what happens during like a more of the traditional Metcon isn't what we're thinking in terms of cardio, please.
Yeah, I'll try to even give the quick response so we don't linger this out to a whole nother episode. Okay, so essentially for you guys listening to this, if you think about cardio lifting as circles and they become a Venn diagram, in the middle is like Metcons, metabolic conditioning, functional fitness type stuff. And so there's overlap there where they're kind of stealing characteristics from each side of it, but they're never really 100% cardio or 100% lifting. And you hear people all the time who are like, your group fitness class isn't lifting. You need to do actual lifting. But it's funny, on the contrary, with cardio, everyone's like, well, this is cardio, and we accept it as is. And so, because no one understands cardio as its own physiology, because we just think that fitness is lifting and then everything else, whatever, you know. And so when we think about that in the middle there, to some degree, yeah, if you're only doing this Metcon, CrossFit, functional fitness, whatever stuff for minimal health and longevity, minimal benefits and stuff, you're probably fine. Like, it's not a huge deal. You're not going to like die because of you're only doing this. Like, I don't ever want to give that message. But essentially, when you're doing like traditional cardio, if there is an X and Y axis and heart rate and VO2 max are being plotted on this, there's a linear relationship between heart rate and VO2 max. So if you were to go on a treadmill or a bike and gradually increase your intensity, either your speed or your incline or your resistance or some combination of those gradually over time until you couldn't go any longer, your heart rate would increase pretty
Okay.
linearly with your VO2 max. And so heart rate is related to VO2 max. And that's why with zones and all that's trending right now, we can use heart rates, because with traditional cardio, heart
Got
rates
it.
versus your VO2 versus like your minimal versus maximal intensity can be kind of plotted from each other or extrapolate what's going on in your body. When you're lifting weights fast or doing CrossFit type things or whatever functional fitnessy class that you're doing, you have this thing called decoupling. This can also happen in some other situations too for people where your heart rate and your VO2 max aren't related. So your heart rate will be artificially higher than the true VO2 max stress or
Got it.
stimulus that it's
Got
giving
it.
you in that given moment. And so we see this sometimes in like cycling, and or like people who have lower fitness status, their heart rate might decouple. Like it might be higher because it's too physiological stressful for them versus like the true like actual stress and
Got
stimulus
it.
that they're giving themselves, or you can have drift over time. So it's not like this is
Mm-hmm.
only happening during the stuff, because it can happen other places. But when you're doing things like your Metcon or your functional fitnessy type stuff, essentially you have this drift where your heart rate will be higher because of the overall stress, central nervous system
Got it.
stimulation, like
Uh-huh.
the actual workload that you're doing, changes in blood pressure, your environment, all of that stuff. It will be higher, but that heart rate, just because it's high, doesn't mean you're getting an equally high cardiovascular stimulus. So there's some studies that have done this with like kettlebell swinging and things like that. And so you might have say your heart rate's,
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
can't remember the exact data from these studies, it's like 180, but your VO2 you're only achieving at this point in time. Hang on, girls. Is like maybe 40, 50, 60% of your
Got
VO2
it.
max rather than
Got it.
80% of your VO2 max. So you're not getting the
Mm-hmm.
same cardio stimulus. So I think there's this, people think like lifting weights fast
Yeah.
or lifting weights at the high heart rate is cardio. And that is more of a reflection of overall physiological stress and load and multiple systems being stimulated on your body rather than the specific cardiovascular
Yes.
stimulus that you get from like traditional
This. I
cardio.
understand.
So there's my concise
I was
packaged
literally
answer.
was like top of the list. And I was like, when she comes on, I need to ask her this because I was like, I don't really understand. I read the post, but I didn't really understand. This makes so much sense.
That's
I love
okay.
this. You folks got a little glimpse into her brain just then. And I'm not going to ask any other question like that because she has a bunch of podcast episodes. There's YouTube. We will link all of the things. She has a newsletter that goes out every Friday. So from the information side, I didn't want to use this podcast to ask her that stuff because it's all there. You can go search for it. If you want to talk about the 10,000 steps, if you want to talk about is walking cardio, all of those questions that maybe you have, she answers it. Okay. That's literally
Literally have
all of the
everything.
things are there. All of the things are there. I got two more questions and then I'm leaving you alone. First one is you had spoken, I think, probably on Sean's episode. Like I said, folks, we will link that. You had spoken about, and we had talked about this. You made a very intentional pivot. Again, there's that word with your social media and in terms of how you were interacting with your audience and just I do believe when we first started, especially, there is the need to be more familiar with people and have that, like, we're going to talk and like, you became like their best friend basically. But then you had to like be like, whoa, this has gone and done a little too much. Can you just talk about that journey a little bit? Because I think it's very interesting. And then your like, I don't want to say your most
Yeah.
recent pivot, but the rebrand and the intentional way that you set things up so that's in line with, how you want people to treat you and your business and such.
Yeah. So for those of you who like are more unfamiliar with me or more recently familiar with me, like I have been kind of really growing in the online space mostly from like 2018 to now. And I've grown and blown up a lot more in the last few years, more so. So there's like a few different phases of the trajectory of Dockless Fitness, whatever it is. And so, yeah, when I first started, I mean, I did what you're supposed to do. I reply to every message, every comment. I'm in my community. I'm doing all the things. I'm also like, I'm not a PhD yet. I'm not a professional. I'm in my PhD. I'm just still like a low mid 20s girl chasing the dream, doing her best, And so I'm documenting right as I go. And so, I think it was great for a while and it allowed me to really get in my community and grow and engage and all that stuff. But then, 2020 happened. Everyone's on their phones. Everyone's very online. And then I really grew a lot in 2020. I mean, I was growing consistently to this point in time, but I think 2020 specifically, like everyone was freaking out and I was just doubling down because I was just
That's
like,
it.
okay, well, what else am I going to do right now?
That
So
part.
like, I was like, I just was like documenting all my home porch workouts and all these tips and everyone's panicking. And I was like, here's a post to address your panic. Like, here we go. And so, it got to a point where at one point in time, like on walks, voice memos, 4 to 6 hours a week of direct messages, like absolutely wild, so much communication with my audience. And so, but I watched it turn into this like kind of casual communication to like, then for me, it started adding negative to my like mental stress and load because it started to get like very demanding. Hey, like you can't say this, or you need to say this, you need to do this, you can't do this, mixed with like big, almost like urgency of my products or my releases or the work that I was doing sooner and faster than what people wanted. And it wasn't really like an ask, it was like a demand, like, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you got to do this. And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing so much. I'm trying to do the most. Like I can't do anymore. Mixed with then like, you know, everyone kind of just like
Uh-huh.
expecting too
Yeah.
much from me all the time. And it felt like it was being expected from me on this very personal level. And so when I wasn't able to reply or give people what they wanted or all this stuff, like it felt like I was like letting people down. And like people like almost expressed that to me all the time. Like they were like almost let down if I gave them like a short or a concise or, and I still get this from time to time, but like it was like if I didn't meet the expectation of what they had for me and how I would reply or respond or what I gave them, they would be like, I could like just tell in the
Mhm.
reply, or they were very clearly disappointed in me or annoyed with me or angry with me or like, I don't know. And it's like I didn't always handle myself the best during this time, but I also like
This.
was just so overstimulated and overwhelmed all the time from just
This.
so much coming at me, asks and demands and requests and questions and more and more. And it was just like I felt like I was
Mhm.
just being leached dry and there was no left for me to give because everybody wanted so much of me. Not just professionally, but also personally. And just
This.
like it was just it was I also like I
It
was
was all
under
the
so much stress
things.
from my PhD and the pandemic and all this stuff, and then I'm on social media, and it was like either people were mad at me for every single thing that I was doing and existing and being, or they like needed me to
Mhm.
be everything to them personally all of the time. And then this kind of turned in towards this like almost like it started to get weird. I talked about this in Sean's, and I don't want people to think I'm going around acting like people are crazy stalkers to me, but like people were just unknowingly, innocently being
This. Yeah.
overstepping to me to the point that
Mhm.
they were like being creepy and weird. And like it was just it started to make me like I think people sometimes still think that I'm too much with how protective I am with like my privacy, but I'm
Yeah.
like I have had too many people be too weird towards me that it's freaked me out
You're also
permanently.
allowed to
Like to
do
the point that
what you
I'm
want.
like,
Like
yeah, yeah, like crazy things. And so, you know, I went on a trip with my friend Tatum, who's now actually relaunching like the third version of my website. And I was like, okay, like we had this very bubbly, friendly, accessible fitness brand of me. And I was like, it's 2021 now. And I was like, okay, I'm graduating in a year, but instead of waiting to release my rebrand when I graduate in a year, let's do it now
Mhm.
so I can start kind of shifting the
Yeah.
way my audience views and looks at me and thinks about me. So we took my like very orange and blue and green and fun and more bubbly rounded brand and made a more professional brand that's still, and now it's funny
Mhm.
now because we've just made it another step. We're about to release like my new website. It's even
Yeah.
more like pulled back professional. But that was because it was blending together my business and my professional thing. And it was like, okay, like let's make this more, I don't want to say masculine because I made it still, I
Yeah.
still wanted to be colorful and more fun than like your classic bro fitness brand that's like red and blue and white. Um, but a little bit more like darker and like because there's this whole perception with brand
Yeah.
personality on fonts and colors and how things are displayed. Yeah,
Right.
I that was for me. I was like, I don't want to be a paint watching a paint dry bro of the industry. Like I have some personality, but I started to be very heavy with boundaries for a while. I pulled back a lot in the online space. I rebranded, I pivoted, I changed the
Love it.
way that I shared
Love it.
things, what I shared, how I shared things.
Fucking love it.
Um, for a while because for me I had it was just it was too much. It was
This.
just like it was not good for me. Like it was for me as a person, it was terrible for my mental health and well-being. I was afraid to get online every day. I was deleting stories in the middle of the night. I
Yeah.
was like just felt so overstimulated all the time and like I could never do enough. Like it really felt like I could never do and be enough no matter what I was doing and being for
Mhm.
people. And I give the most in the
Mhm.
online space. I was like, and it just felt like this
Yep.
match of like ungratitude mixed with entitlement, mixed with like, holy shit, I'm a human
Mhm.
being doing my absolute freaking best. Like, and I'm also like in this season of my life where I'm not having a good
This.
time. I'm having a hard time. I'm in the middle of burnout. Like
This.
I'm and my PhD was on the fritz, and I was vocal enough about this, like not enough. Like I was always delayed, and when I was vocal about
Totally.
things because I didn't want my
Yeah.
audience to like leech
Absolutely.
onto it at the time. But I was like, hey guys, like I really like when I'm like I was like setting boundaries, and people were they were mad at me for a while for it because I was reducing my accessibility, or I was like a bitch, or I was like I'm literally drowning here. Like looking back, my mental state and well being during this
Mhm.
time is
Yeah.
horrific now looking back
That's
at it.
it.
But I was just doing my most, and then people were just asking for more, and I was like, I do not have a drop left of me to possibly give. And so I was like, something has to change because people can be like, well, just ignore messages or just ignore comments or just ignore
Yeah.
emails. And I'm like, your entire business
That.
is seeing this stuff and dealing
That.
with it. And even if it's well
You're still
intended,
saying
even
yes.
in the volume, even in the nicest, most well people, it's
That.
still like just seeing the asks of you
Absolutely.
all of the time is just like, I was drowning in it. So, and again, my
Mhm.
audience is fantastic. I have some loyal, amazing, fantastic people. Not all of this was ill intended. Yes, there's the jerks and the weirdos, but like most people meant well. But like I was just like, it's just the
Mhm.
10th billionth ask of
That.
the week that I can't meet, and people are letting me know that I'm letting them down. And it was too much. And I was like, if I'm going to continue to grow and finish my PhD and be a professional, I cannot give this much of myself to people all of the time. Like, it has to be on my terms and what I can give and what I have the space for. And so I pulled back massively, really shrunk myself down, really cut off a lot of access to me, cut off a lot of my personality, really kind of hit a hard reset. And it was good because I also moved and started my postdoc. So I pulled back a lot on just like my business and social media a lot. During the time I was reposting a lot, I wasn't as personal, I wasn't doing all of these things. And so then I was like not having fun on social media. I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I can't not be myself. Then I felt like I was suffocating because I was like, I can't hold in my personality. I can't not be myself. I can't not do these things. And so I was like, okay, if I am going to be on social media, this is my job. I have to do this. I have to be on here. There's no just getting off and ignoring it like everyone says to do, because you can't. It's your job. It's your business. It's like saying don't go to work. And you're like, yeah, easy solution. Quit your job. So I was like, I need to make social media human. I need to make it human again. Because also social media wasn't fun for everyone, because everyone was like, I felt like all my peers were feeling the same thing. And I was like, okay, like I need to bring the humanist back of myself in the space and me. Because then I also started to feel like a human Google. Like I was just this robotic information person. And I was like, I'm also a person. So I backed off too far, where people like stopped thinking I was a person and I was just like this information vessel. And I was like, and the way they would talk to me, I'm like, oh, whoa. Like this isn't a Google search bar. Like I'm a human being. Like, and yeah, that starts to get old too. Cause you're like, okay, like great. I want to be known for my information, but like also just like, thank you.
Human.
A person, like ask politely or say thank you back, or just like be engaged respectfully, or recognize like I'm just a human doing my best and this is my first time alive too, like all of us, right? And so I was like, okay, I want to make this more human again, more myself again. So I started probably like a year or so ago. I was like, okay, like let's make social media more human again. Let's bring the humanist back. So I brought back bits of myself. I started sharing a little bit more. I started writing more of my like personally inspirational, reflective-y captions. I stopped that for a while. I don't like, it got so bad. I went through and deleted like every archive, just anything personal on my page back like 3 years. Cause I was like, hard cut off. Nope. You guys, like it was, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. And then I was like, okay, like I need to come back, but I need to do it on my terms and what I want to share and what I want to be and what I am willing to give, but also became really clear. Like I, fumbled with the boundary setting for a while there, but made it really clear, like, hey, I'm busy. And I'm busy, and not in the way where you get to make me feel bad because I'm busy. I'm busy in the sense that I'm doing the most and I'm trying my best, and I do not have unlimited hours to give to every single person all of the time. And like, you're just going to have to be okay with that. Right. Like my business is too big now. My professional life is too big. Like it was kind of like we circled back to earlier. It got to a point where I was like, I have to choose myself. I have to choose what's going to make me happiness. Like, cause it got to the point where I was like, I can either reply to your DMs or ignore my husband. And I'm going to choose to not ignore my husband so I can reply to your DMs. Like, that's what it was getting to. Like, I was like, I'm not going to do this. Like, you just don't get to take away my life from me because you think that you get to have something from me, because I can only give so much to so many people. So I started thinking about more like, how can I give to my community as a whole versus like everyone individually, and making it really clear, like, hey guys, I'm busy. And I'm really good about, like, it might seem annoying to people where I communicate with my community, like, hey, like, I'm really busy right now, or I'm traveling, like here, like make sure, like I kind of like try to make it seem like I'm going to be less responsive, and I'm super sorry, but I appreciate you still being here. I appreciate you still engaging. Sorry that I've been bad about replying to comments recently. Like life has been crazy. So I'm really good about listening to my community. I engage with them. Like, it's not like I like don't. I see a lot of messages and a lot of comments. And like, even if I don't get to every single person, I'm like, well, how can I collectively address this so my community is still benefiting from what, like, I'm very aware of who's in my community and who's there and appreciative. But I was like, and that was something I had to give myself permission to. I don't have to reply to every DM. I don't have to reply to every comment. I don't have to help everybody out for free. I don't have to give everyone a piece of me. And I think it's helped because it's allowed, like, I think a lot of people now know they'll be grateful if I reply, or grateful if I respond, or grateful if I help, but they don't they don't expect it, and they're not as disappointed because they also know, like, I am just one person, and I'm also, my page is really big now, and I have a lot more of that stuff. So I think that's helped a lot with the illusion of it too. Like, I think, and so it's like hard for me because I never want my audience to think like I hate them or they're bothersome and things like that, but it's just the volume of it. I don't think people realize in the back end the volume of it, right? So I just kind of rebranded myself to I just am being myself now. Like, I'm just not hiding who I am, but I'm definitely hiding the things that I just
You
don't want
get to
people to have
choose
to infiltrate on everything on my
this.
life. Yeah, but I had to like reroute. So I had to hyperswing back and then bring it back
Yes.
on my terms. And I really have learned that you can
There it
curate
is.
your experience on social media as a creator. Like, you get to have a say. So I don't let people who don't follow
Yes.
me comment me. And I restrict a bunch of words that are related to anything that's like inappropriate or
There you go.
negative or like just
There you
like
go.
haterade filled. I block a ton of words on things that I just think, and that's not to like censor my page, but like I'm not gonna let, like, I literally blocked the word
Good, good,
typo. I
very
was like,
good.
you like, if you're gonna come here and nag about my typos,
Very
like, I don't want
good.
you in my audience. Like, you just like, I'm like, you like, I blocked the word typo. I was
I
like,
love this.
I literally did for my instant.
Love
You can't, you
this.
like it's, and I, if people are incessantly annoying or rude, I just
Yes.
remove their follow, or you can restrict them so they can just comment and talk at
Yes.
themselves in your comment section. You hide your stories if they're being inappropriate in your stories and over abusing that or drawing the line or
That's
being
it.
creepy. Oh, you don't get to see my day-to-day life anymore. And you know, I used to block a lot more. I don't block as much
Mhm.
anymore because at this point in time, it's just like you can see my content so many other places. It's like, but I can restrict if you get to access
Yes.
me, essentially, is like
Yes.
what I'm doing. Um, and I also can choose how I post things and how I portray them. Because if you are smart about social media, you
You
know
know,
what kind of
for
responses you're
sure.
going to get to certain things and how you say them and how you do them and what you do. So I just changed the way that I interact and behaved. And then also, like, part of my podcast with Sean, and Sean's thing is like, I stopped being as much of a bitch because I decided that I was like, okay, you know, everybody was so mean to me for so long and so crazy, and I made me super defensive. And I was like, you have to
Yeah,
stop
that's
assuming
fair.
that everyone
Yeah.
is being unintended to you. And I had to let that go because for a while there, everyone was kind of sometimes being the most towards me. And so I started like
Yeah.
artificially and unintentionally like thinking that everybody had the worst intention. And I had to like kind of pull that back myself and just be like, okay, like, I'm not going to always assume that. Sometimes I'm not perfect at it, but like then let the
Mhm.
people kind of filter themselves through and and
Yes.
like expose themselves here. And it's, I mean, it's tremendously better. Like, the amount of negative comments and rude DMs or
Yes.
random emails I get ripping me a new one because I had a
Fuck it.
typo, like all this stuff is to decrease, because it's just like I just I wish I had a roadmap for people perfectly how to do this.
Well,
Like, you're gonna make boundaries and you're gonna screw up and you got to figure out what works for you. And like sometimes I push too far and sometimes I have to pull it back, and you kind of land on what is right for you. And you still have to make yourself likable, but then
you
you
get
don't
to
have to share
choose.
your entire life for you to do that. But you also don't have to make your whole self accessible. But you like, in order for me to keep showing up and keep doing what I was doing, I had to like the online space. And I loved it in 2018, 2019, early 2020. I was just having fun. And that's why it worked really well for me. And I was like, if I want to grow and I want my business to succeed, I
Same
have
here.
to find a way to make social media fun for me again. So I curated my space, and then I've talked to you about this. Like, I just don't follow these specific guidelines of what
Mm,
to post and how to do X, Y, and Z.
that's it.
I just have shit to say and I say it and I do it, and I just make it. It's not like I'm just posting for myself. Like, again, I'm listening to my community, but I'm like, I'm not following this roadmap, perfect, exactly do this. I'm just like, I'm making it so it makes me want to show up to work
Yes.
every single day. Cause I get to have a say
Yes.
in my life and my
Yes.
happiness and how
There's
I
such a
experience things. So
recurring theme. Such a
wrap it all
recurring
back.
theme. And this idea of, is it serving me? Can I keep showing up like this? Do I need to pivot? You always keep going. You never stop, right? You're just like, I'm going to just do this other thing.
Never
You never
stop.
stop. And you did it. You just nailed it. You just or explained it rather with social media. And I love that you used that word that I had written down of curate your experience, where you were just like, is this serving me? I'm fucking stressed out. I'm not happy. People are just take, take, take. And you're like, what do I have to do to make it so I enjoy it? What do I have to do to figure out what do I want? Right. And you're just like, all right, I'm going to stop this part. I'm going to kind of change this
Mhm.
and be very intentional with things. I fucking love that. And giving yourself permission that I don't have to respond to every message. Though a very real trajectory for this is like when you first showed up, you did the most. Like this is the truth, right? When you're just trying to start something, you do the fucking most. Respond to everybody, do all the posts, comment on all the things. And then you start to learn along the way, what do I like? What don't I like? What is serving me? What is like just actually crushing me? And like I have anxiety and I'm waking up in the middle of the night deleting things like you're like, I gotta pump the brakes on this. I gotta change this. And
No.
you did that. Like it's such a theme. And I love it so much. And I love that the audience
Yeah.
gets to hear this because I don't think women do this. They have sunk cost fallacy. They are told to just suck it up and like this is just how it is. And you're just like, but also we have options and we can curate this.
And I also think in the online space and business, and I think there's this unfair expectation that I think a lot of women have towards women is like, they expect these creators to be everything to them because they're looking for so much validation and like community
Mm-hmm.
and support. And like everyone wants everyone online to recognize their
Mm-hmm.
experience for them, but like no one's willing to show up in their
Mm-hmm.
own communities or friend circles or themselves and do the same. So it's like, don't put it on me that I need to be your form of validation, because unless you're willing to talk about this to your best friend, then you
Yes.
shouldn't be, you should get offline and stop looking for that from
Yes.
like me. Right. So I think that sometimes, women, if you're a consumer, not a creator in this space, I think there's that,
I'm
like,
not
it was a lot of
surprised.
women having these unfair expectations of me all of the
I'm not
time. And
surprised.
I was like, and then when you fail
Of
and
course.
fumble, they're the most critical, right? And I was like, I'm
Of course.
not playing your game. I was like, I'm not doing this. I did it my whole life. I'm not doing this.
No,
I'm
you
not,
don't have to.
I refuse to play this game in high school and college and my master's and
You
my grad school.
don't
And I'm not going to do it in the
have
online
to.
space. And so, but I think there's also this idea that we have to be like the givers and we are
Mm-hmm.
expected, like, there's those things that happen with professors too. Like I was a professor, like you expect your female professor to be nurturing and caring and loving and giving. And I'm like, stop expecting other women to also do that for you in the online space, because you're pissed when people do to you in your own life. So
This.
stop expecting people to do that for you.
I love
It's
this.
unfair, right? Versus like, are you in dude bro red black
Uh-huh.
DMs getting mad at them because they didn't tell you exactly how to live your
This.
life? No,
This.
you're not. Like you're like, right? Like, so I just decided to like, be okay with disappointing people, which I know is so taboo for people, right? Like being okay with the idea that I might not
This
be
is
able
huge.
to get back to people. And
This is
that's just
huge.
okay. That's okay. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't have to give 100% of myself because I
Yeah,
don't
you
have
don't.
100% of
This
myself
is
to
huge
give.
and super valuable
So,
to hear.
yeah.
Like, I want to bring on people and have different, who have different experiences, different lived experiences, and like just like people can hear from other people. And like, that's not my experience in terms of social media, but I'm like, I know it's the truth. I know that that is a very common thing, and I'm like, I can't articulate that because I'm like, I don't have that experience. So I try to coach people. Let's say, if we stay in this kind of
Hmm.
social media theme, like I try to coach people on this, but I'm like, I haven't lived that. So to have someone like you come on and say these things and articulate these things, so that people that whether they are the consumer or they are the creator, like this is very real. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is all we want.
Keeping it real.
This is it since day one
Since
in the
day
NICU.
one.
One more question and then we'd be done. Because I wanted to talk like business for like a hot second, but I want to talk business from the zoomed out perspective.
Hmm.
So there's a thing called the BHAG. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever heard of it. Big, hairy, audacious goal. And I'm not really a goals person, but you are just doing the most always. Since day one, since NICU day one, doing the most. Your business is thriving. You are moving things and curating things so that it makes sense. You've got a new website launch coming out. You're splitting things apart. Is there something, not right now, but like 5 years, 10 years, is there a big thing that you're thinking about? Or we're just like, hey, do the most now?
So it's funny. A lot of people have asked me this recently, and I think it's funny because I think in some part for me, I never knew what I'm doing would
Exactly.
look like, how it's doing. I didn't actually know. Like I didn't have this specific dream. I just always, and I always tell this to people, like, you don't have to know exactly what you want to do or what it's going to look like, but you
Mhm.
have to know the
Mhm.
direction that you want to go in. I think that's also why it helps me to keep going forward, because I have the direction and the momentum, and like I'm still going forward even if I shift the
Totally.
route,
You're still
right?
going
Like
forward.
you don't have to
Yep.
stay on the same path or road or route or whatever. Like you can take the different route, but I always have a direction that I'm going. And I always make sure, like, are my choices and my decisions and my values and what's making me happy in alignment with this long term thing. And so what's funny is recently it's like, this sounds, very
I
arrogant, but
love
I'm
this. I
getting everything I
fucking
ever
love this.
wanted. And I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know it was an
What?
option. I didn't know. My friend said to me the other day, she's like, it's crazy when you work your entire life, you work your ass off, and you don't know what to do when you actually start to get all of the things that you wanted. And so it's crazy because it's like, I'm
Yeah.
31.
Yes,
I'm
you are very
young.
young.
I'm very successful at a very young age, and I've done a lot of things. And I'm like, fuck, what? Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I can do so much more than I even thought was a possibility when I first started dreaming. So it's like, it's not that
No.
I dreamed too
Yeah.
small. It's because I didn't even know.
Love
I
that.
had no idea. So now I'm in this position where I'm like kind of doing all the things and having all the things that I ever really wanted to do. And I'm like, I'm like, I feel like I'm at like a top of a mountain or a false summit. I'm looking out at the valley and I'm like, where do I want to go next with this kind of thing metaphorically? And I think it's great now because I have the security of like, this has been the first year in my entire freaking working, studying adult life where I
I
felt
love
like I
this
could
for you.
exhale. Like I actually could just like
Love this for you.
take a freaking exhale. and really regroup and reset. And so that's, I needed that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
even though I'm still doing all the things and moving forward, I was just like, oh my God, like, holy shit, like like
yeah.
let me just be a person for a second. And that's felt really good. So I think part of that for me is to it's, I said that coming into this year, and I'm still working
Sure
like a
good.
banshee, but like I really do want to make more
Love
space for
this.
my life in my work. I want to make more space for me in my life, because at the end of the day, I work for two reasons. I work to buy myself the
Mm-hmm.
freedom to live the life that I want to live, right? I want to travel. I want to go play outside. I want to go an adventure. I want to be able to financially be able to give me and my husband opportunities to live a life that are very different than what we thought going into grad school that we could have. I've been able to support him and us a lot through that. I want to inspire and catalyst for others and their lives and give back in that way. And I think that for me, it's like I want to find that better balance
And
for
peace.
myself. I hate the
Mm-hmm.
word balance, but that harmony, so to speak, where I don't lose myself in the work ever again like I had. I don't want to.
So
I
you
think
think you had
I
to?
had to fly too
Yeah, I
close
think
to
you
the
had to.
sun. I had to get burnt. I don't regret it.
Totally.
I don't regret it. I don't regret it for a second. I don't regret a single negative thing that came out of that, because so much positive came out of that, because I pushed myself harder than most people are willing to push themselves. And I get like, I'm not going to be the person who comes in here and is like, oh, I'm going to live a slow life
It's
and
not
take it
you.
easy,
Yeah.
and because I benefited
Yeah.
from all those years of
Mm-hmm.
pushing. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
hypocritical, because
Mm-hmm.
you need the push, right? So I think for me, it's about finding that ability to keep that humanist in myself and my life in what I do, especially as a worker and a passionate person and a pusher. It's
I love
harder
this
for
so
me to do
much.
that. It's harder for me to pull back, right? I go, go, go. But then also from a professional level, it's like, I just want to like
Fuck
take
yes.
over the
I
industry in a
love
way
it.
is the best way I want to say it. Like I want to be the known female physiology expert in 10 years. I want to be the person leading that front. I want to be a known name in the industry. I want to be, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to do it with integrity, and I want to do it on my terms, and I want to do it in a way that still considers serving people. Like I want to do it. I feel like just a lot of people have modeled this well, and not to say like I'm going to be the first of my kind to do this. Um, but it's like I am pushing to be the best at what I do and what I'm known for. And I am at the point now where like I don't really know exactly what that looks like, but I know it's going to
I
be
love
big.
this.
And that's all I can ever say. And I just know I know that if I'm going to get there into whatever that version of me that's 10 years from now, that's looking at me at 30, the way I'm looking at myself at 20, I'm going to just do the things that I know. I'm going to head in a direction. I'm going to not take no for an answer. I'm going to just I don't know how to be successful with just strategy. I just know how to push. I know how to give and push and put out and produce and figure it out, because the more you do that, the
Yes.
more feedback you get, not only about what you want, but what you don't want. And that allows me, I think that's a reason I always know how to
Mm-hmm.
pivot, because I put myself out there and I figure out, I'm like, oh, I don't like that. But you don't know that
100.
until you put yourself in the position of knowing. Like when I was going through grad school, people were like, how did you figure out what you wanted to
Yes.
research? I said, I
Yeah.
figured out what I didn't want to research. And that's how I figured out what I wanted to research. And so for me, I have this 10-year goal of like, I want to be the person that's known in the industry for my expertise and my knowledge and be that go-to. I want to keep giving seminars and talks and be an invited speaker. I want to be, known for those things, because personally, like I am good at what I
Phenomenal
do
what you
and I've
do.
worked really hard and I want that. Like I sound like that sounds
No.
arrogant, but I'm like, no, I I
No.
I think I think I should be given those
Yes.
opportunities. So I think I'm going to keep pursuing them, right?
Yes.
So I want that. I want the list method to be functioning, thriving, very successful without me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
having to run it.
Yeah.
That's the goal. It sounds
No.
taboo to say, but I have amazing people surrounding me that that can do things better than I can at this
This.
point in time, because I'm the
Yeah.
visionary and I'm the leader and I am great and I know that. And I want to, I'm growing out a whole second wing of my business now. But the thing is, like, I don't even know where all this is going. And it's like, I know I should, everyone's like, you have some vision map or specific goal
No.
or 10-year plan. And I'm like, well, my 10-year plan is
Yeah.
just
I
to,
love
to
it.
take over. And that the only way I'm
I'm
going to
so
do
fucking
that
here for it.
is by
I'm so here for it.
like it's like people joke, you're like, I'm just getting started. And it's like, well, obviously I'm not just getting started, but like it's like last November, I just like, I texted my friend and I was like, this is the catalyst of
Mm-hmm.
something really big. And I just need to buckle up and get in, because it's going to take off. And I'm seeing that happen. And I think for me now, I spent a decade or how many years of my life, like hearing the no's and hearing the, you can't be that, or you can't do that, or we don't like you because of that, or the people trying to hold you back, or, the having that fuck you fire and trying to prove everyone wrong, whoever
Mm-hmm.
spited you or said you couldn't do it. And now I feel like I'm going into this next decade of my life instead with just like immense,
Say
it's
it.
so cheesy and it's so tacky, but just
Say it.
gratitude. So much fucking
Say it.
gratitude. Like I am thankful and I'm grateful and I just have
Yeah.
nobody to prove wrong anymore, because it's like the people who didn't want me to succeed aren't happy for me now. They don't care. They
Exactly.
still
They're
probably
still
resent me
salty
for
about
some
some shit.
stupid fucking reason that I don't even know. Like I don't care. And I was never doing it for them. I was always doing it for me. But then, you know, for years, I
Yeah.
mean, despite that, like
Mhm.
when you're actively fighting against that resistance, it's always there. But now I'm like, okay,
No.
well, you can't touch me.
Yes.
I'm literally done everything and more that I ever said I was going to do. And like, and I try not to get negative where I'm like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, and I hope you're happy with the choices that you've made with
Totally.
your life too. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
not being this like, look at me, like I'm better than you type thing. Although my gym playlist sometimes lets me get into that ego mode. That's my alternate ego where I'm like,
I
yes, you
fucking
are
love
better
it.
than everyone else.
I love it. I'm so here for it.
But for me, it's like I'm leading with so much gratitude and like it's cheesy, but it's like I really am like I feel like I'm giving these opportunities and I'm so thankful for people. And they're like, why are you thanking me for me? You're doing, I'm like, but you're opening a door for me that no one else has offered to open yet.
Totally get it.
And I've always been extremely grateful for those people in my life that did that for me before I was somebody or
Totally.
before I thought I was
Mhm.
something or when I was just a student or just a person. And so now I'm like, I'm just leaving with immense gratitude for the work I get to do and the people I get to help and the clients I get to serve. Cause that was a pivot I did in my business too. I was so stressed over social media, my business, my growth that my coach and one of my trainers, he was like, you just need to spend more time talking to your clients
Yeah.
to remind yourself of the work that you do and why you do it. And that was the best thing I ever did. Cause I was like, oh, this reminds me of my why and why I do things. And so, yeah, I think at this point in time, like I don't have this specific plan because I think for me, I know that I'm going to be successful. I know I'm going to rock it. I know I'm going to just do, I don't know how
It's
to
you.
do things
Too much.
half-ass. I do everything
All
I
the
do
time.
really, really, really well. And so much of that came from the insecurity of all that I'm going to fail, blah, blah, blah. But I just know the direction I want to go. I want to make it big and I want to keep my values and who I am as a person to my core. I don't want to let it change me and be grateful for it every step of the way. And just never stop being excited
Yes.
about the work I do,
Yes.
right? Like that's huge for me. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to be known for these things. I want to take over and do these great things. Like it would be silly for me to pretend like I'm not like
Mhm.
kind of like a powerhouse.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I'm a fucking badass and I'm going to do these things and I do everything
Mhm.
really well. And like, screw you kind of attitude that I sometimes have to carry, right? You don't,
Right.
nobody who's
You're
successful
100%
doesn't have
right.
that edge of like
100% right.
edginess of cockiness that you have to have. But I don't, you know, so I don't know. Like that's just where I'm at now, where I'm like, okay, like in 10 years, I want to be known as a leader of this thing. And I'm working towards that. And it's
You
funny because
are.
people
Yeah.
say, well, you are known for that now. And I'm like, but
It's
like
not in the
that's
way she
just
wants. I love
starting.
it.
You know what I mean? Like that's
I love it.
just
I'm
starting.
fucking here
I
for
know.
it.
I'm like,
You
but
are.
be happy and grateful along the
You
way.
are.
So
But there's no
that's
caveats
yeah.
needed. Like you folks listening to
Yeah.
this, you hear, and then the last bit there, like why I brought her on here. And I was as I'm looking at that question, I'm like, how do I phrase this? Because like I don't have a fucking like, what am I gonna be in 10 years? And I'm like, how do I phrase this? I'm just gonna fucking say it. She'll give us the answer that we want to hear and that we need to hear. And I love that. It's you continuing to be you and all of the things that you've gone through, that you've leaned on, that you've learned, moving forward with that. And I love that it is, yeah, you still have these professional goals, if you will, but it's you've worked so hard that now I love that you're like, I can take a breath. You're still, if you call it like duck feet, like you're still fucking going, but you're good. And you're like, I can take a breath on all this work that I've done. And now I can continue to be like, what's serving me? What's the direction I want? And fucking go and crush. I love that. It is the both and.
And I'm excited. I think the last thing I'll say too is like, I'm excited to see what
It's a long
happens
time.
with 10 years of like having like, like the next 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's a long time, right? Like what did I do last 10 years? Like the next decade of my life, like what, if that's what I
Mm-hmm.
accomplished with like resistance and
Yes.
self-doubt and people against me and just challenges and obstacles, like what do I get to accomplish now with, and this is what really pivoted me is like, I have so much love and support and friends and peers and mentors and like everybody for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in my life is rooting for me. Like I never, ever, ever, ever had that. I had very few select people and then myself. And I'm like, what do I get accomplished when it's like
They're all rooting for
people
you.
are on my side and want me to win and are rooting for me and like I believe in myself and I don't have this like debilitating lack of confidence that I can't do the things that I do and like I trust in myself and like I'm grateful and like if that's what I did in the state that I was in when I was doing that in a fully developed brain, like what do I get to do? Like
And a
what
fully
do I
developed brain.
what happens when Yeah, like I've only had a fully developed brain for 5 years, right? Like, so like, you know, like you're like, but like, I just, for me now, it's like, what do I get to do when there's like, it's like the world is my oyster.
Anything.
I can just do whatever
Anything.
whatever I want, right? Like, what do I get to do with this love and support and like space to breathe
I'm
and be a
excited.
human? Like,
I'm
I'm
excited.
excited I'm excited. I have no idea what happens when
Yes.
you're not punching up at air all the time and pushing back and fighting. And you're just
I'm
like, oh,
excited.
I've arrived and now I get to decide my next destination.
We all get
And
to
that's
benefit
really
from
cool.
that. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I'm like, I get to win because of that. Alyssa, you had said before, dockless method. Can you just tell people where they can find you, what they can get from you? I mean, by get, I mean buy from you. And you have a challenge coming, and I'm not sure if this is going to be out before, but I also don't know when the challenge starts. So let's say all the things so they know.
Yeah. Okay. So Dockless Fitness is where I hang out on Instagram. That's where you'll find me all these things. I officially, as of
Oh,
yesterday,
baby.
have 2 websites,
Congrats.
docklessfitness.com and thelistmethod.com. And the List Method is my program's handle if you want to learn more on Instagram. And then my YouTube is Dockless Fitness. Those are all the places that you can learn all the things from me in those different places. We have a full send summer challenge starting June 3rd, but technically if people join at any point in the summer, we'll like let them in the challenge, because it's not a challenge where it's like you have to have a certain start date and you have to do certain things and like
Yeah.
all these rigid goals. It's something that I started last year and my community really developed from it, and it was great. Because I did like a strong summer challenge like back in 2019, and that was like how I bought it. Like I paid for the flight for my grandma's funeral, but that was like my whole life story. But it was great because I got to see I just wanted like, let's be strong during the summer. And so I brought that back kind of in this own version last year called Full Send Summer Challenge. And it's all about like, let's do micro and macro adventures in our own communities and towns and lives. And it's not about who's the most epic or whatever it is, but it's like, let's use fitness this summer to allow us to have the physical capacity to do the things that we want to do, or maybe we don't do, or we won't make the time to do, or we avoid doing, or we wish we did every year at the end of the summer. And like, let's make sure we have the physical capacity to do those things, and whatever that looks like for you. So the prizes aren't given out because someone hiked Kilimanjaro. They're given out because like you know what I mean? Like, it's like your personal growth and what you're doing and whatever that looks like for you. I'm hiking Kilimanjaro next year. So it's only appropriate. But it's like everything in the summer is always like people like, let's be our hottest, sexiest, skinniest selves for the summer. And I'm like, what if we just go freaking summit some mountains, or take our kids somewhere really cool, or go to that place you never went to in your town, even though it's right there, because you just never thought to do it and make the time to do it. And so I just give out a bunch of free shit and gift cards for people who like go and do things and support each other in the community. And like, that's literally the challenge. Like go do things that are fun and get yourself out there, and then come back into the app. And there's people there that are going to motivate and cheer you on and like encourage you to do that, and then have the resources and support that you need to do those things. And that's literally the challenge. Like, it's like, there's no catch, there's no gimmick, there's no like, that's just straight up like, let's full send, let's live our summer, let's live our lives, let's go after it, and just encouraging that and giving people the tool of fitness to do that. So that's my summer challenge. It's literally just like a community-based social support group and some like little challenges and like prompts to reflect on like across the summer. And then we give away gift cards and free programs and things like that. It's really simple. And so the List Method is my concurrent hybrid training program system. I have lifting programs, I have running programs, I have a hiking program, and then we have cardio programs that you can pair like with your lifting plan if you're in the app under lifting. So you can sign up for those, all the things on my brand new website. So please go visit it, because it's so helpful and it's so beautiful. And then on my Dockless Fitness side, I have ebooks on like cardio and sports nutrition and running and hybrid training and lifting. And then eventually I'll be coming out with webinars here later this year. And so I have all of the things so you can go learn, or you can, find the resources or training tools to support if you want that further, or join us for the full summer challenge and just be encouraged to just go live your freaking life and celebrate your body for what it can do and what it is this summer. So that's kind of the thing. That's kind of our schism, right? So that's all of the things, all of the places. This is my first podcast where I get to be like, I have 2 websites and you can find all the things, but don't be overwhelmed. It's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's fine. But everything will be in the show notes. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Joe. Everything will be listed out there, so you can go and check her out. Find the things, buy the things, join the things, do the things, celebrate the things, be grateful for the things. It will be all be there. Alyssa, you are too much, and I fucking love it. I'm so grateful you take the time. I know you're like a super busy time in your life right now, and chick like carrying a microphone around with her so we can do this episode. Like, thank you, really. This is just it means a lot to me that you took time to do this. Like, super, super, super grateful.
Yeah,
Super, super grateful.
absolutely.
You folks listening,
Well, it means a lot that you
this
had
is
me
great.
on,
Like
so
my
thank
new
you.
friend. I was like, I gotta get her on. I'm in the fucking thing that's like taking all the notes. I don't even do that. It's not even me. And I'm like, here I am taking pictures of shit. So thank you. And now I'm also gonna go ride the bike today because it's Thursday. So thank you.
Good.
You folks listening, thank you. We know you could have been doing anything and you chose to listen to us. And for that, we are both endlessly, endlessly grateful. I got one ask for you. If you liked this episode, if you loved this episode, do me a solid and go check out Doc Alyssa's new website. Help her out. Go check out the things. Go learn the things. You're probably going to end up fucking riding the assault bike. Don't say I didn't warn you. All right? All right. As always, endlessly, endlessly appreciative for every single one of you. Until next time, friends, Maestro and Doc Alyssa Olenick out.